Pregnancy Sickness Support turns 20 in November 2022. We are the UK's only charity helping people affected by nausea and sickness in pregnancy, known as MVP, and the extreme form of the condition called hyperemesis gravidarum, or HG. At Pregnancy Sickness Support, we provide a helpline offering information on MVP and HG, which can be reached via our number 024 76 38 20 20. For further information on HG, as well as our web chat service, please visit pregnancysicknessupport.org.uk. To ensure no HG sufferer has to feel alone, we also offer peer support, which is delivered by our incredible network of volunteers. These volunteers have experienced the condition themselves and understand just how debilitating, not to mention lonely and isolating, HG can be. In addition to peer support, we also provide HG training for healthcare professionals and participate in new research. We also have 2 new services coming soon, a partner support service and HG specialist counselling programme. Today, I am talking to hyperemesis gravidarum sufferer, Ella Schwarz. Ella, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be on today.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's something that when you hear of people having it, you just you think, oh, they were just sick. Do you know what I mean? And then when you go through it, it's like another ball game. So yeah, definitely excited to come.
Yeah, I often hear people say, unless you've had it, they just can't understand. So let's dive that right in. Tell me about your HG.
So I've got 2 kids. I had HG with both of them. Maya was my first child. So it started with her when I was about 6 or 7 weeks pregnant. It was a little bit further along than Freddie. And it was all new. I wasn't expecting it to happen. Obviously, first pregnancy, never been pregnant before. And medication terrified me. I felt isolated. I think I was in the hospital 8 times with Maya before I was 3 months. Majority of them were like 2-3 day stays. But I didn't take the medication properly until about 10 weeks because I was just terrified something was going to happen. You know,
so sorry to interrupt, Ella, but
right.
When you were being prescribed that medication, was nobody explaining to you the risks? Were you just told, here's the medication, and you just sat there too scared to take it?
Because I didn't have any support from my GP. It was only when I went to the hospital, and then they're obviously really busy, so they kind of just said, you need to start taking these. Didn't really go through the risks as such. It was more just a lot of people take them, but then my mum was obviously terrified because she's never heard of people taking medication during pregnancy. So then I was actually okay taking it, and then she was making me nervous. And then I was like, oh God, what if I take it now and something happens? It's all going to be my fault. So it was it took weeks until I finally realised it's okay, I need this medication. And then it helped a little bit, but it wasn't until I was on Dancitron every day for the whole pregnancy that it started to make a difference. And it was about 20 weeks. So that was
did both of your pregnancies look the same HG wise?
No. So no, okay. Freddie, so I managed to control it on Dancitron, this anti-sickness with Maya. With Freddie, it happened quicker. So about 5 weeks pregnant, it started, and it started literally boom. Whereas Maya's is a bit more progressed over a few days. Freddie's literally one day I woke up, that was it, it's happening. And I went into hospital once when it was the beginning, and then the next time I went in a few days later, I was in there for a week, and they couldn't stop it with antiemetics, so anti-sickness, they couldn't actually stop it. So then I went on to steroids with Freddie, and that stopped my sickness completely, which was amazing. But it was a big decision because there are a few risks with steroids, isn't there? Like a bit more than the other stuff that you get given. But it was during COVID as well, so it was more lonely, that one, because I had no visitors and I had a Maya at home. So then I felt really guilty with Freddie. So I'd say my HG first time was more like getting my head around this condition and thinking that, oh, it can't be that bad, even though I'm in hospital, thinking it can't be that. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'd never heard of it before as such, and I was like, I don't understand, like, it's just sickness, pregnancy sickness. Whereas Freddie's was a lot more, harder on mental health than what mine was.
And do you think that the people around you understood what HG was? Your friends, your family?
I think people that were with me, so like my mum, obviously my husband, my dad, my siblings, they understood because they see me going through it. They understood how bad it was. But my friends and like work colleagues and stuff, actually my work colleagues were probably a little bit more understanding than my friends, but my friends, I was the first one in our group to have a baby. So I think that's quite a big thing anyway, because none of them had that understanding of pregnancy anyway. And then on top of that, having HG, it was quite tough because I don't think they understood at all, really. And it's nothing negative towards them, but yeah, when your friends don't understand and you're kind of trying to explain what it's like, and you feel like they think that you're being dramatic. You know what I mean?
But I think unless you've had constant, doesn't even have to be constant sickness, unless you've had constant nausea, how would you understand?
Yeah, it's true. And you don't want to feel angry towards them, but you do a little bit sometimes because it's not their fault they don't understand, like they've not gone through it. But then you feel like, well, it's not my fault that they don't understand. You see what I mean? Like I'm going through it and I feel like shit, and like I feel like my friends just don't get it. So that was quite difficult.
It's a really lonely time, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really lonely.
And Ella, during both your pregnancies, so it sounds like your second one was, I'm sure your first one was very difficult, but it sounds like your second one was very challenging. Did termination ever cross your mind at all?
So with Maya, not so much, but with Freddie, definitely. When I was in hospital for a week, I rang my mum on I think it must have been halfway through, and I was like, I actually don't think I can do this. I said, like, my mum was like, oh no, just try and hold on a little bit longer. And I was like, no, but if I don't stop being sick soon, I'm going to have to terminate, because I felt guilty that my daughter was at home. I was in hospital with no visitors during COVID. I had anxiety, then I was going to get COVID. You know, it was like that. It was because this was all in June 2020. So it's very early on during them days. So there was just so much going through my head, and I just struggled being on my own. And I just felt like, I felt like I wouldn't have regretted terminating. Obviously, I look back now and I feel like maybe I would have, but I felt like I wouldn't, because it was just so hard. And I completely understand why people do it, because it's just awful.
Yeah, I think if you've had it, you can really relate to the idea that you're not going to survive it.
No.
I know when I was suffering, I would just be thinking about getting through an hour at a time. Yeah. And then when you're staring down the face of 9 months of that, it's just, well, you just don't think you can do it.
No, it's so true.
Even if you've done it before, you still don't think you can do it again. So, Ella, what kind of help did you have from pregnancy sickness support whilst you were suffering?
So I had a peer support. Is that what you?
Peer support volunteer. Yeah.
I can't remember her name now, because it was on my old phone, so I was looking before I come on. But basically, she had my number, and we had like a WhatsApp exchange. So I would message her about my medication. I would message her about how I was feeling, if she thinks I should go into hospital, what my GPs had said, like everything like that. She was brilliant. She was really lovely. I'm so annoyed I can't remember her name, but she was so nice. And it just made me feel, even though, because this is obviously the second time, I never had anything with Maya the first time. So even though the second time round I felt lonely, but I knew what was going on, sort of thing. But I just needed someone to talk to that really, really understood what I was going through. There were still not many people around me that had it. So I just needed to talk to someone like what she just helps me massively.
Yeah, because even if it's just a vent, or you know, like, oh, somebody's just suggested ginger biscuits, and that person at the end of the phone's like, yeah, I got you.
I get it.
Yeah. It makes a massive difference, doesn't it, to have somebody who understands exactly what that condition is to support you through it.
Massively, because you just feel like they get everything you're saying. And especially when you do talk about termination, you feel awful talking about it to someone that doesn't understand. So like, it's nice to talk when you're at that point. It's nice to talk to someone that does understand and isn't going to judge you. And they're like, look, you do what you've got to do. You have got to put yourself first in the situation, which I think is another thing that you don't you feel guilty about, because you think you're not, like, you feel like you're being selfish, but you've got to, haven't you?
Oh, the guilt
can't.
is enormous. And
I know.
And when I was a peer support volunteer, I feel like my most used phrase was, "You didn't ask for this."
Yeah.
You didn't ask this, and it's so difficult, especially when you've got another little one at home. You just feel awful that you're taking up this space in such a way, and you can't be there to care for them or play with them or be with them. It's a lot on your mental health, I think, the guilt.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, I think, even if you don't have anyone, like someone at home already, it's just I guess it's kind of like having a life-changing illness all of a sudden, because that's what it feels like. I know it doesn't last forever, but it feels like your whole, like, I couldn't go to work, I couldn't socialize, I couldn't leave the house, and you just feel so lonely. It's just, you feel like you're going through it on your own. It's just awful.
Yeah, that's why the peer support's so important.
Yeah,
because you're not on your own.
No.
We've been there, we've experienced it, and we get it. Like, I remember I would just be thrilled if I could make it downstairs.
Yeah.
And I'd text my peer support volunteer and she'd be like, "Yeah, go you, well done." And it meant a lot. It meant loads. So, having had one HG pregnancy, tell me how you went about planning a second one, knowing it could be HG. How did you approach it, Ella?
So I kind of just put it to the back of my head, and I was like, oh, well, it might not happen again. And then I did ring my GP as soon as I found out I was pregnant, because I'd read on your socials before that prevention is better than waiting for it to happen. But then my GP was like, I'm not giving you anything. So I was like, that's great. So then I had to wait for it to happen before they would give me anything. I tried to explain to them, and they was like, no, you have to just wait until it comes, because you might not get it this time. So I did try and put that in place, but that didn't happen. I think it was good as well, my family knew what was going on, so like they had been through it before with the second one, so they knew exactly what it was going to take a toll on them as well as me, because it's hard for especially Tom to see me go through that. Like, he really struggled. What I'd say more with Freddie, the steroids helped a lot, so it wasn't as long, like a period of like that point. So yeah, it wasn't really massively, like, if I had another child, I feel like I would now wait until they're both at school.
Yeah.
The small age gap probably wasn't a good idea at the time. I know everyone's different, but for me, it was hard because Maya was only 2, like just turned 2, so she really didn't get why I wasn't there. And then also I then felt more guilty because they wasn't in childcare. So it was like my mum and my husband's life just changed massively because I had to look after Maya because I couldn't. Whereas I feel like those at school, I might not feel as guilty. I don't know. Probably would still feel guilty, but at least they'd be out of the house, sort of thing.
I think I know it sounds a bit strange, but I think if you've had it once, I think, yes, you can hope that you're one of the people that doesn't get it twice, and those people do exist.
Yeah.
Just give everybody a bit of hope, they do exist. But I think once you've had it once, you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
So I think you're able to like mentally prepare, and you can say to yourself, like, yes, I know it lasts X amount of weeks last time, and it was a full thing or whatever. I think knowing what it looks like, although scary, does help you prepare. Because I know when I was suffering the first time, my doctor would say to me, you'll be better by 12 weeks. You'll be better by 14 weeks. You'll be better by 20 weeks. And you're constantly going, okay, I'm going to be better then.
Yeah.
And you're not. Whereas I know when I came to plan my second pregnancy, I thought, okay, let's just fall down the rabbit hole of how horrendous it was last time, and let's just prepare for that.
Yeah.
And that's what we did when we went into it.
Yeah.
So Ella, have you got a message for Pregnancy Sickness Support, the UK's only HG charity, as we hit our 20th anniversary?
I would just like to say thank you, personally, and probably to everyone that's used you guys. It makes you feel less alone. There's no judgment whenever you ring or message, and you always get back to us as well. And it's really needed, because as we've said, you just feel alone. I feel like that's the biggest part of it. So you guys just make all of us feel like we're not going crazy, and we can do it. Definitely.
Oh, thank you, Ella. That's brilliant. So before we end the call, could you tell everybody where we can find you online?
Yeah, you can find me mainly on Instagram. It's Crazy New Mama. I'm also on Facebook and TikTok, but yeah, most people just follow me for my stories. I
Which
say
are
it how
brilliant.
it is.
Yeah. We all need a bit of that. Thank you, Ella, so much for spending your time with me today. It's great
That's
to talk
all
to you.
right, no worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you or someone you know is suffering, please visit www.pregnancysicknesssupport.org.uk for further information on our help and services.